I'd like to begin by acknowledging the Boon and Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation and pay my deep respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. And there is an exquisite teaching that our Indigenous custodians have taught us, but we haven't learned yet. And that is, never take all the eggs from the nest. Always leave one for the future. And I guess, in a way, that's exactly what I'm going to be talking to you about today. It's not just future-proofing your business, it's about each and every one of our lives. Because business is made up of people. And it's the quality of those people that define how that business will function, will evaluate and live its values, and how each and every one of us actually, I fully believe, has a role to play in that. So all I can share with you is my own personal experience. There is no PowerPoint. I just need you to know. I'm really sorry. There's nothing to look at on the screens. You can concentrate on either my jingles, my jangles, or what it is that I'm actually saying. But I don't do PowerPoint. I'll just share a little funny story. When I started OzHarvest, Macquarie Bank, the foundation, was really the first foundation. So this is in 2004. Foundations, philanthropy, impact investing, none of that was being spoken about. Social entrepreneur was just beginning. And the word purpose really meant living a life of values and fulfilling something really meaningful. And it's not that I think it doesn't mean that now, but we will go into how purpose has been commodified and how brands and individuals actually wish they could go to a supermarket and buy some purpose so that our lives were full and meaningful. And if that was possible, we possibly would have a better world, but we might have an inauthentic one. And my whole view and everything and the way that I attempt to live my life is not only in the present and not only in the now, but is in the real connection and relationships. So that story with Macquarie was I went to pitch for some money. I'd never started a charity, never done anything other than run my own business. I'd never had a board. I wasn't an ASX-listed company. I didn't have to account to anybody for anything. But I'm not going to go into the story of why I started OzHarvest, how, but I went to Macquarie and the foundation. I walked in and said, my name's Ronni Kahn, and I'm here to tell you that I'm going to start an organization, and I'm going to start a food rescue charity, and I need some money. I mean, that was my business plan. And when they said, how are you going to do that? I said, well, I know that I need trucks, and I know that there's food, and I'm going to connect those two, and I'm going to stop food waste. And they loved it. They didn't, and I heard them say they love it. And so I walked out and said, well, Macquarie Bank is giving me $50,000 because that's what I asked for. Anyway, a couple of days later, I got a phone call from the head of the foundation, said, what the hell? I haven't told you I'd give you any money. What are you talking about? I said, but you loved the idea, and you told me that you were going to, I could tell that you believed in it. She said, well, I haven't told you I'm giving you any money yet. Anyway, 2 weeks later, she called and said, we've decided to give you money. And I kind of said, I told you so, but the point is, she then invited me in to present to all her people. And after about 10 minutes, she said, Ronni, we need PowerPoint here. I'd never made a PowerPoint. I barely knew what a computer was. My people might tell you I still don't. But that's besides the point. Anyway, I go to my coworker in my business and say, listen, they tell me I need a PowerPoint. Could you just do this? I come to the next presentation. There's the PowerPoint. I'm sort of doing this, and I'm talking, and then the slides after about 10 minutes, she said, Ronni, ditch the PowerPoint. So I've never used a PowerPoint since. So, are any of you in this room, do any of you work for either the big 4 banks or for the big 4 accounting firms or businesses like that? How inspiring. Only a few of you. Okay. What I can share with you about those businesses and what I can share with you about my experience and how we interact. So very briefly, I'm going to give you just a little outline so that you understand why I'm connecting with those businesses. So over the years, what OzHarvest does is we rescue food, deliver it to people in need. We do 4 things. We rescue, we educate, we engage, and we innovate. One of the ways for us, we fully philanthropically funded, but I have created a new business, a social business, which is called the For Purpose Co. How cool is that? You want to run a business about purpose. I think what I really want it to be called is the For Purpose Co. Nobody else had thought of that, so the registered, our business is called the For Purpose Co. And that business has been created as a social, for-profit business to sustain OzHarvest. But rescue, educate, engage. One of the things we need is philanthropy. We need connection with corporates. So one of the programs we've created is a Cooking for a Cause. We run this Australia's biggest cooking school, but it's a cooking school with a difference. And through the year, we probably get about 250 or 300 corporates, from tiny little businesses to major companies, put their staff through a team building experience, which is Cooking for a Cause. Not only do they learn beautiful cooking skills, not only do they cook exquisite gourmet food, the only difference is they don't get to eat it all. They get to taste it, but most of the food that's prepared gets packaged up with love, cooked with love, and with love delivered out to our charities so that within an hour of cooking, that food is on the table. Through that program, we deal with around 250 to 300 corporates. And that gives us an opportunity to engage with them and to discover what it is today, which is a little different from this program started about 8 years ago. And what I've seen over the years is the desperation within the corporate hierarchy to find ways to connect and to get their staff engaged, absolutely committed to staying with those companies. Now, what does that mean for us? What does that mean for you? What does that mean for you if you are starting your own business or in your own startup? Because I guess if 3 or 4 people said they work for major corporates, either the rest of you are your own new startups or you're working for different kinds of businesses. Can I just get a show of hands? How many of you have got your own startups? Awesome. That's why you're in this room and that's why you're at this festival. How many of you work with co-founders or in smaller businesses or other options? Okay. And how many of you wake up every single day saying, this is the best day of my life. I love what I do. I love my work. I love my co-workers. And in fact, it isn't work. Well, that's amazing. That's amazing. There's more of you in this room than I've ever had in any audience. And I've been to many festivals. Because ultimately, what we know about millennials and what we know about people in 2020 is that we want to work in a place that's value-driven, and companies that were old school have absolutely no idea how to do that turnaround. and how to absolutely engage with their people authentically. So, for example, I'm not sure which, this is general. So, for example, lately, if you look at the Googles, the Atlassians, the Salesforces, the culture in those businesses, apart from the fact that the work frame, the work, the way you come to work, the way you feel at work, the way you dress for work, the fact that you could play billiards in the middle of your day, or you can slide up and down a slide, or you can bounce balls, or you can do whatever, is very hard to emulate if you're one of those staid and older companies who are trying very hard to retain their staff in the very same way that the Googles and the Facebooks and the Atlassians are attracting their staff. And it's not just the pay, obviously. And I know you know this, but we need to break it down because not all of us can work in those kinds of new and funky and awesome organizations. And if we are starting our own organizations, I think there have to be some fundamental elements in order to put the building blocks in place that your startup or your business might be that very next Salesforce or whatever it is that you aspire to. And I use Salesforce a lot because I am not here to promote any business, but I don't know if any of you have read Mark Benioff's new book, Trailblazer. And if you haven't, as I say, I don't get commission. I wish I did. I'm not on any retainer. We use Salesforce, and sometimes it's the bane of our lives. Sometimes we absolutely love it. But Mark's book, Trailblazer, is a fascinating one because what it embodies is the authenticity of a leader that's built an organization that embodies those values. And in a way, and this is why I'm here today, because I am exquisitely blessed to have done that, subliminally, unconsciously, bumblingly, without ever having planned what OzHarvest would look like. We have created an organization that has an absolutely recognizable brand. And in fact, when I walked into Pause Fest and saw the yellow and black, I had to smile and say, yeah, we've done a lot. Because I can tell you that 17 years ago, when we chose yellow and black, there were not many yellow cars on the road, other than a couple of emergency vehicles. There was not this absolute awareness how powerful yellow and black are as a color. And I chose it because yellow is bright and smiley and warm, and I certainly knew that it was visible. And what I wanted to know was that if I saw cars coming, I'd see that OzHarvest yellow truck coming. Anyway, the point is that to build a brand needs a vision and needs authentic leadership. And I cannot stress that enough. If we're looking at our country today, and I fundamentally believe that Australia is not the same country, nor will it ever be the same as it was pre-Christmas. I think that, and I'm not here to talk about the fires, and I'm not here to talk about how and why we've changed, but I will call out one of the fundamental reasons, and that is the and this is not a political talk, and nor do I generally talk about politics, but fundamentally what we saw glaringly in front of our eyes was a lack of leadership, a lack of understanding of the role of being a leader. And whilst the leader has an enormously important role to play in any business, the other fundamental belief that I have is every single one of us are leaders with or without a title. And so it is not up to only the leader, but it certainly is up to the leader to set the vision and then have that either challenged or built on. And these are all the elements that future-proof a business. So if you are in the business of starting something new, and whatever it is, whatever, and if it's the most high-tech to the most heartfelt business, if you cannot clearly iterate not only what your business does, but why it exists, and if that why does not encompass a value that is bigger than making money, I would say that that business isn't doomed not to succeed, but will not be able to succeed in the climate and in the world as it is today, the same way as it did in the period of greed, consumption, growth that we have seen up till fairly recently, where things have fundamentally changed. You know, I started thinking about Henry Ford, Rothschild, Vanderbilt, Rockefeller, those individuals who had huge vision and structurally built the United States or Europe or invested. They knew then, fundamentally, that what they were doing was going to be good for the country. The foundations and the legacy that they left should be where we are looking today, because with all due respect, the growth of our billionaires, the growth of those people, and absolutely they're giving back money, some of them, but it is fundamentally, if business is not built with an element that has a social aspect that will either improve people, the planet, or some higher element, I think business is screwed. And what I'm seeing from all these companies that come through to us, they are scrambling, which is actually a really good thing, because they are scrambling to try and find what it is that's going to catch our attention, what it is that is authentic. And until such time as they actually are willing to put significant money into not only their people, not only gender diversity, not only creating business that isn't greenwashing or brandalizing, or, you know, last year I spoke, I can't remember which festival, I can't remember where it was, doesn't matter. But the speaker before me was the head of marketing at Coca-Cola. Now, I know that Coca-Cola now, I heard last night at a talk, I didn't know this, is doing extraordinary stuff. Coca-Cola now is recycling all its bottles, that 100% of the plastic in its bottles is recycled. Did any of you know that, other than the people who went to last night's talk and heard that? Okay, so I didn't know that. Now, in fact, how cool would it be if they found people to share that? Because they're clearly doing that because they realize that actually, I'm not talking about the content of what's in the bottles, but at least if we know that their bottles are recycled and we drink it, we could feel a little bit better. Why I'm sharing that with you is without knowing that, and less than 6 or 8 months ago at this fabulous festival that I spoke at, there was the head of marketing, and he revealed their new, beautiful video on a screen that was double the size of this room, so it would have cost a couple of million to prepare. And the whole focus, it was purpose. The purpose, how you will fill yourself with purpose if you drink Coca-Cola. Seriously, I wanted to puke. And how could they get it so wrong? How could they misuse and misalign and think that we were stupid enough to believe that if we drink a frickin' bottle that then I didn't know was recycled, a fucking plastic bottle of Coca-Cola was going to fill me with purpose. So that's how companies get it wrong, and they get it wrong every day. So what we have to understand is how, when I talk about authenticity, and this isn't about, you don't have to go and find it somewhere. You just have to tap into what is it that you believe in that is bigger than yourself, that will support you to earn money, that will support you. Nobody is suggesting that we shouldn't live a rich, full, exquisite, prosperous life. When I started OzHarvest, I went to one of my girlfriends and I said, so I'm going to start a charity. No idea what that means, but this is what I'm going to do. And it's called a charity, but what I'm going to do is connect food with hungry people. And she said, Ronni, does that mean you're not going to buy clothes anymore? I said, well, if it does, I'm fucked. But anyway, the point is, as long as we buy sustainable clothes. But the point is, it's really about doing things in the right way, for the right reasons, and for every single person that's different. And you might love trees, and you might love dogs, and you might like whatever. I happen to believe and know that food waste is the lowest hanging fruit. And it would be remiss of me if I didn't remind and share with all of you that each and every one of you, food waste is the third biggest reason for climate change. You don't have to look and think, what can I do? What you can do is buy less food, eat it, and if there's leftovers that you haven't eaten and have for whatever reason you're not going to eat, compost it. Because fundamentally you will be making the most extraordinary difference to this country.